Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
It's not used to non-recourse money because not only is it recourse to the bank, it's recourse because of your signature. But one of the things that we don't do is sign personal guarantees. And the weakest of you in the room will sign a personal guarantee just to get a deal done. Even if it wasn't SBA, I'm sure our colleague in the back of the room would have signed a personal guarantee. Yeah. That once he sells, the personal guarantee is not lapsed, but that's the right word. Or no, once he sells. He sells. Because remember, the bank's got to approve the sale, otherwise nothing gets sold. Because they're first on the shit. But just because I'm buying his business and he's got a personal guarantee, doesn't mean that they want me. Yeah, but that's fine. Bank next. I'm telling you, although when you do $100 million deals, there are no fucking personal guarantees. That's a joke. It's only for the little guy, the little mooch. I think, I'm not positive, and I went back to check. I'm not sure I ever signed a personal guarantee. I think I did about 45 years ago. But I'm not positive about that. And most of those professionals that represented me in those days are dead. But one's still around. But I don't think I did. Because I never had an SBA loan. If I had an SBA loan, then I'm positive I would have signed a personal guarantee. Because that's federal statute. You got to sign a personal guarantee. It doesn't matter. That's his poor luck. You know, that's like saying, this sounds racist. If the guy is a Mexican or black, does that mean only a Mexican or a black can take over the fucking loan? It's bullshit. But personal guarantees are... I might have signed one on my first rolls. I was thinking about that, not deals. Because I might have, but I'm not positive. I'm checking on that too. But you know how people sign, you guys sign a guarantee when you buy, I guess. I haven't bought a car that way in a long, long time. I'm sure my wife, because my wife paid cash for all these cars, but but personal guarantees, kids, are for poor people. I mean, they are. And poorness rubs off. But I mean, I haven't done a little deal in a long, long time, but I know for sure on, 50, 80, $300 million deals, you don't sign guarantees. You just don't. What they will try to do, though, is cross-collateralize if you got some money. The biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges Jason Nagy had, because he had some money. He had a IT business that was pretty damn successful. And when he decided to be in radiology, it had nothing to do with his IT business. Another thing, that for those of you that have made money someplace else, they're going to ask you, and they asked Nelly, he knew about the construction and related businesses for building and stuff. And then when he went off and bought a milk dairy, they wanted to know, what the fuck do you know about milk dairy? Nothing. So then they wanted to cross-collateralize. Well, if you don't know anything about dairy, you want non-recourse money. What if you go under? We want to be able to take your construction-related businesses. And he said no. And of course, it took him a while. It took him, I don't know how many banks he had to talk to. But there was a bank or some type of financial institution that will lend the dumbest rock in this room on a deal without a personal guarantee. There is. In the United States, there's about 685 banks. 685. In this country, there's about 500. And you think of like in Canada, they say we have 4 clearing banks. I'm not even sure what a clearing bank is. There's about 400 banks in Canada. But not every bank has an office on the corner of 5th and Main, They're service offices. And, they on the internet, but they're listed for sure on the internet. Of course, now you put down Banks USA. I mean, I don't know what the number will be. That number in the right-hand corner of Google, how many? I have no idea. But, You've got to get out of the habit. Because everybody in this room, I must have signed a personal guarantee when I got a car. I must have. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure I did. But other than that, you've got to get out of that habit. There's several habits, and we talk about them at the end tomorrow. One is sensitivity equals poverty. That's a guarantee. I only made 4 or 5 guarantees in the seminar. That's one of them. Sensitivity equals poverty. Or not generational wealth, okay, which to me is poverty. And there's several of you in this room that are very sensitive. You know, and then we could go down the list, sensitive to what, but anyway, just sensitivity equals poverty. It's easier. And then a guarantor is a fool with a pen. The only exception to that is SBA. And SBA is a great way to start. So, and the challenge is on the SBA when it's $5 million maximum, is that, and you're going to, let's say you're going to go 2 or 3 deals in that $5 million bucks. But when you sign as I understand it, when you sign the personal guarantee on the SBA, it's for up to $5 million. So you may not have to sign another time, but you're guaranteeing with your personal signature up to $5 million. Now, when Trump, if he was to get in a second time, which he didn't, he was going to up that to 7 or 10 million SBA. That would have been sweet, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But, so, I mean, personal guarantees, and you're going to be struggling. You're going to sign an LOI that's too short, and you're going to run out of banks because you think you called 20 banks, and that's a lot of banks. And the person that made the most cold calls that you listened to, because Simon said he talked to hundreds, but he didn't say how many. But until he did a deal, Andres, I think, called 41 cold calls a week, which is nothing. You work full time, you make excuses, but I mean, the guys, the pig, he'll make 40 cold calls before lunch. The guy, you know, the autistic guy, he must have, now, a million, I'm exaggerating now, but I mean, he had trouble keeping track. He didn't know how to keep track. We didn't teach him that part. Until he talked to a principal. And he thought it was the principal of a school. God love him. You know, you laugh, but it's not, you know, where does that put you? What does that say about you prior to you coming here? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you learned something, okay? But where does that put you? Do any of the sales programs like Grants or the Wolves, or do they tell you how many cold calls you're going to make a day? Okay. We didn't. When I was on the show, we didn't talk about that. But when we went out to dinner that night, he says my methodology is similar to his, whatever he calls a straight line. And I'm just a hammer. And I didn't keep track. I used to give you clickers. You know how when you run around the track, one click, a lap, we used to give you clickers. We used to give you all kind of shit. We don't do any of that because it's a waste of my money. And you lose them and you don't do it. Anyway, we used to do clicker. We gave you a clicker for financial calls, and we gave you a clicker for motivated sellers. And of course, then you just click it like this and you lie, you know. So, because I pinned them down. Did you make this many financial calls? And as soon as the universal, that means no. You know, did you punch your brother in the face? He was going to hit me though. You know, one of those deals. But so I wanted to make that point clear. I contacted the Meathead deal and that deal, those 2 deals, with some difficulty I might add, and they both laughed. Okay, any questions on that little blurb out of sequence that I just gave you? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any like SBA in England, like equivalent of SBA? SBA loans in
yes, girls pull up their skirts.
Okay.
That's the equivalent of the SBA. There are different loan schemes. Scheme is not a bad thing in Europe. Scheme is like a plan or a system. The Duke of Edinburgh and there's a few other things. Prince Philip, who just passed away, had a scheme for years where he funded a lot of stuff. But they change, and they may only be funded for £3 million or £15 million or £500 million. So they expire. So you have to go, just type out government schemes, the government entrepreneur schemes, and the ones that are in existence will come up. And they make you go through some hoops, nothing terrible. And a lot of times, you can get the money non-recourse. The government, like any other government deal, they don't expect you to pay the fucking money back. I don't get that myself, but I like it, but I don't get it. On an intellectual level, it just doesn't make sense to me. But all the Netherlands, Germany, if you remember, Andrea said in Germany there was a deal for whatever it was. Now, most of the schemes in the third, fourth, fifth world countries are scams. They're scams, and so, I mean, if you're in Bolivia, I wouldn't waste my time looking for anything. If I was in, Yemen, I wouldn't waste my time looking, because it's associated with something that's unsavory at some level. And some of the deals that you don't really understand or appreciate that they're not straight until you get into them. In the beginning, you might get funded, $50,000 or whatever, but when it gets down to the real money, that there's a scam associated with it. Now, when you buy a car and you don't pay for it, you sign a guarantee? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that first rolls, because I know I didn't pay cash. I paid, I think I've said that my payment was like a little less than $400 a month. And I think I put $3,000 down. Yeah, so I must have signed for the rest. Boy, that fucking payment, I mean, that was, no. But no, they didn't have scores back in 71, 72. They had nothing. I try to get my, you see commercials about my personal credit score or whatever it's called. Pardon? Yeah. I try to get my score about 5-6 years ago. I don't have one. And in the center, and so I called American Express, and I'm a platinum card holder, and I just celebrated my 50th anniversary with my card at American Express this last January. And I got a card, not with the signatures on it, but stamped by my 6 reps. I have 6 reps at American Express. And supposedly the American Express black card doesn't have a limit. And I bought some pretty big shit with it over the years. Actually, Sally's bought more bigger shit than I have. But I called American Express to see if I had a credit score a number of years ago. And no, Mr. Peña, one manager get back to me, then another manager. No, we don't have a credit score. Well, how did I get a black card then 10, 12 years ago when they first came out? Can we get back to you? And they said, to be honest with you, and as soon as they heard that, we don't know, but you were one of the first ones we ever issued. I said, okay, thanks. I don't have a score, so but I don't have any credit. I haven't bought anything on a payment since before most of you were born. I mean, so, yeah. Cash is king. That's another thing Bunky Hunt told. Cash is king, Danny. God rest his soul. Bunker Hunt. And he used to take up 3 coach seats. 3 coach. And he knew the American Airlines flights that had, now you can pull those things back in between seats and coach, but not many of them can you pull out. And he knew, or somebody on his staff knew, which planes he can go in. And he didn't like to be in the front row because, where you're the bulkheads here. He liked to be behind the front row, although he could barely get his his fat body behind there, but he did. But he ate most of the flight. Literally. From the time that they took off to the time he was eating food. He liked food. You can't weigh 350, 400 pounds if you don't like food. We have one expert in here, but I'm not going to ask him, how he stays big. Okay, last night you saw what? Alpha male. Now the largest shareholder in Microsoft. Was one of the first 15 or 18 or 14 or something like that employees. But he was Mr. Gates' hatchet man. Like, you got to get somebody. And what did he know about computers? But you want to know. And some of you, and when I say you, the people that come to the seminar, some will not entertain the idea of getting a chairman until you know a whole bunch of stuff because you're afraid they're going to ask you this, blah, 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 blah. And even though I say it 1,000 million times, because you can't help yourself. You can't help yourself. Fortunately, if there's any positive karma, your chairman will be that hatchet person and be your mentor, the things that we have discussed. But that doesn't happen too often because a lot of times the guys are old, maybe as old as I am, and, their hatchet days, although they have your reputation of that, their hatchet days are behind them. Now, mine aren't behind me, but so if you can use that rep, and for some of you that have some sales skills, you can use that rep. And people to this day say, well, we're going to have to get Mr. Peña involved. Now, what exactly did you want from me again? And when I was growing up, my dad was gone most of the time, and my mother would ask me to do something. I said, no. I knew when to say no back then even. And she says, asked me 2 or 3 times nicely. And then said, well, then I'm going to have to call your father. Mom, I must have misunderstood you. Exactly. Exactly. What do you want me to do? Shit. And then, but she, at least to a little 8 to 13-year-old kid when this was happening, I thought with all my heart that she was really trying not to have to call my dad because she used to cry when he hit me. I used to cry when he hit me. Okay, what about Steve? Yes, sir.
He's willing to push everybody and just have the same energy as him, just get him to stay on the mission, keep selling them, just always selling them to stay high performance.
He when I finish the day here, my shirt, my underwear, my vest are all soaking wet. And I'm not really jumping around that much, but I have so much energy. When I am jumping around, like in January of 2020, when I gave the seminar at Heathrow, my suit, you could wring my coat out and my pants. And so when I went to dinner, I changed clothes. And somebody in the restaurant there noticed it. In fact, a guy from Mexico City noticed it. And he said in Spanish to me, he says, I see you changed your clothes. And I says, they were wet. And I said, yeah. And because I have a lot of energy. And I've always had a lot of energy. And unlike some of you in this room that look like you just came from a funeral, did your mother die? I mean, for some of you, you got to be smiling because your mother died. We've had girls come to the seminar, women, that had 15 phone calls with their mom during the seminar. And I said, turn the fucking phone off or I'm going to break it. Nothing positive can come from 15 phone calls. And the mother wasn't dying or anything like that. And when we pressed her, how many times did you talk to your mom a day? 25 to 30. She was neurotic. And whatever is beyond neurosis, that was her mother. It all became crystal clear to me why she was all fucked up. Everybody who comes here is fucked up. But I mean, it was crystal clear because even though we asked some pretty refined questions, I mean, it doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't tell the whole story. And, yeah. Well, I drink blood. Yes. Once in a while, a year or so ago, I got a bad batch. And the side of my face looked like a birthmark. You know how... but I don't think the blood helps me. I don't think the stem cells help me. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel, a burst energy, all that horse shit. None of that happened. I didn't feel any of that. Yeah. Well, yours if you don't keep your fucking mouth shut. So, not important where it comes from. Those of you, anybody in here ever had stem cells replacement? Do you any good? No, well, I didn't even get a temporary high. I didn't get nothing. Oh, no. I mean, stem cell replacement for, aging, rejuvenation, and they take all that. Okay, no, that I've had that. I've had that because I've had a lot of injuries, but the first couple times in Switzerland, the next couple times in Panama, and the last time in America, in a back alley with 3 quacks and 2 drug dealers and something else. But I've never done ayahuasca or, or any of those hallucinogenic things. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't feel any different. Although, other than my gray hair, I'm in great shape. But it hasn't cured my arthritis. I still have pretty severe arthritis. And, but I've tried all that shit. I mean, I have a hyperbaric chamber. Costs quite a bit of money. The same things that Ronaldo and these guys recoup from their athletic endeavors. Same thing that the astronauts use. We have we have one you can stand up in. By the way, when you get a plane, make sure you stand up like a man in it. Not, the little jets that you gotta get in like this. And this sounds racist, but they say, stand up like a white man, Danny, when you get a fucking plane. So the first plane was an Imogen, and then but I got planes you could stand up in. And so, because they know that you're just a fucking bum then. They know you're a bum. Even if you rent a plane, make sure you can stand up like a man in it. Now, some of you midgets in here can stand up in those little planes. I can't. But I've tried everything. Fucking, you name it, I've tried it. And none of them work for me. Because I'm supposedly 120% energy when I'm dead. I get asleep. More energy comes off me asleep than you guys awake. I don't know why. Good genes. I've got a 13th rib, which is a Neanderthal rib. My brain's 20% bigger than yours. Neanderthal brains. I'm a throwback. My dad was a throwback. We don't know what his dad, because his dad died before he was born. Just the luck of the cards. But I never think tired. I never think, well, I've worked enough today. I never think any of the normal things that a normal human being. I never get my to-do list done in a day. Never. I've never, that I can ever remember, gotten to my to-do list that I have put done, completed in a day. Never. Bill Gates, I'm not saying that I'm Bill Gates, but Bill doesn't ever complete his to-do list. Bill Gates and Elon Musk have one thing in common for sure. They both schedule their days or their diaries in 5-minute increments. 5 minutes. I'm told that Elon's is 6 minutes, but anyway, 5 minutes. So when you meet these guys for a meeting, you've got 5 minutes before you're walking out the door again. It's tough for me to say hello in 5 minutes. So mine aren't 5 minutes, mine are 10 or 12 minutes. But, and I've always been in a hurry. Always been in a hurry, and that's got me in a lot of trouble. I mean, in a hurry, going out with a girl, I'm in a hurry. I've already made a lot of jokes about that. There's 3 dates and not ice cream, candy and flour. Fuck that. I mean, our relationship begins and ends right here, sweetheart. That's it. I may love you and have 5 kids with you someday, but for right now, it begins and ends right here. That's it. And it stood me well for a lot of years. But I always have had a lot of energy. I used to pray if that energy could turn into some athletic prowess, because I was an uncoordinated fucking kid, God almighty. I told you about my one minute of fame in football. We're losing 42-3 to Manual Arts High School. Manual Arts High School was ranked the #1 team in the United States of America in 1962. They had a fullback named Harry Wells, who went from the 11th grade to the pros. He went from 11th grade in high school to the pros as their fullback. 265 pounds, 6'5", black kid. We're losing 42-2. No, 3. Somehow we got a field goal. And they said, Peña, get your sorry Mexican ass up here. You fucking wetback piece of shit. This is how he talked to me. Now, can you imagine in today's world? Anyway, so I went up there, and he says, Peña, get your fat ass in there. And don't fuck it up. And I'm praying to God, please, don't give the ball to Harry Wells, and don't let him sweep around the right. I was left corner. Like from my lips to God's ears to Harry Wells' legs. They give him a handoff, and he comes around the corner. The goal line's here. I'm backing up. I'm not going forward. I'm backing up. And so about 5 yards from the goal line, I lower my head. Boom! By the grace of God, he didn't pull me over the goal line. He didn't pull me over, so I stopped him. They carried me off the field like I had won the Super Bowl. They carried me off the field like I'd won the Super Bowl. For a fucking fat-ass Mexican tub of shit stopped All-American Harry Wells. That's my entire athletic career. That's it. And he used to tell me, Peña, I told you this before, you're so slow you should wear the other team's jersey. Now just imagine if you had 15, 20 years of getting beaten like that. Every day. But my dad said, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And what he also said, it's not what people say to you, Danny. It's how you interpret what people say to you. And by God, I used to think maybe he really likes me. Roy J., I hope you're rotting in hell right now. But that was the coach. And when he died from a heart attack on the field, screaming, choking one of his players, because that's what you used to do to football players in those days. Yeah.
Mr. Peña, I remember when I came from Yemen, I had a teacher who, as soon as I came in, the first few days later, she taught us, she hammered this into our head that sticks and stones may break your bones, and so can words. Yep. And that was like, I grew up thinking I was smart, understanding that. I was like, yes, don't hurt people with words. This can break their bones, or some shit like that. The
world's the opposite of that now. Now little girls kill themselves on Facebook because somebody said something not nice to them. What's happened? If that happened to one of my kids, I would go straight to the guy's house. I would kill that kid. I would kill all the siblings, and I would kill the parents and grandparents and the fucking goldfish. I would eradicate them from the world. And yes, I'd go to jail for life. And what did I say? There are some things worth going to fucking jail for. I would eradicate them from life. And there's still some crazy assholes out there like me. There are. Few. I'm not recommending or suggesting you do any of that. I'm just telling you what I would do. Anything else? What else about Steve? When he bought the Clippers and he fucked up the whole valuation system of professional sports teams, he overpaid. The big worry, because he is a hands-on manager, alpha, that he would fuck up his basketball team and basketball in general. But he hasn't done that at all. He's been a great owner. You know, don't ever estimate how wrong he can be. I mean, he's done some great things. But I mean, when he spoke at Oxford, that tape that you saw, he said he was a little nervous. He didn't say one bad word during that talk. I said fuck twice at Oxford. After I said it, I turned to the moderator and said, "Oh, you already said it, Mr. Peña." You know. And he's a real alpha male manager, ball buster. But you don't have to be that. You don't have to be an alpha male. What else about Steve?
Yeah, I thought it was striking that he said that he wasn't always like that, that he grew up being painfully shy even.
Correct. Yeah. So you still got a chance, sweetheart. You can't call him sweetheart anymore. I like to call a girl tits. Hey, tits, come here. But hardly anybody's got any tits anymore. I mean, that's a whole other. I could give a whole talk on that. But there's not many of me left. There's just not, you know. As Brian QLA Rose says, when Peña goes, there's going to be a black hole in the earth. And the earth is going to implode on itself when I go. But I'm not going any fucking time soon. My death date is August the 10th when I'm 120 years old. So I've got a good 44 years left. 44 years left. But I'm not going to do this. I don't plan on doing this past 80. Sally and I are going to buy a 300-foot boat and sail around the world the rest of our lives. Maybe 500-foot boat. You know, well. And Sally and I want to die in the boat, like in the Titanic. And then the world, devil and God will be duking it out. Who's going to get him? Who's going to get him? And my nuns are going to be yanking on me. Come on, you can do it, Mr. P. You can do it. Okay, you two, bye-bye.